Right, a video I've been wanting to do on the channel for some time. I was hoping to have Alan Gibson from J Soccer Magazine in Japan on to offer some insight and analysis on the subject of today's video, which is potential J-League players who could make it at Celtic. Unfortunately, Alan's had a bit of a family emergency and it's just me on doing this. He has, however, sent me some names to look into and to bring to your attention, so let's get into it. This is my second go at recording this video, by the way. I had the rather nice, not in retrospect, but at the time, idea of putting on this Japan shirt to do the video, forgetting that the screen behind me is the same colour as said Japan top, and we ended up just with the blue screen not working at all. So I'm kind of at my wit's end, but let's get on with it. Let's look at what Ange had to say about the potential for Celtic to sign more players from the J-League. He spoke back in late August and he said, "I have been looking at it very closely. I know the Japanese market very well. Traditionally, it's always been easier to get them out in our winter break, which is the end of season. There's a lot of talent there that people haven't realised. It is definitely a market we are looking at closely." So what is the situation in Japan, in the J-League at the moment? The J-League is currently entering whatever the Japanese is for the home straight. They're about 3/4, 4/5 into the season, coming down to the nitty-gritty. And the season is scheduled to end in December. I think they have end-of-season playoffs and that kind of thing, but they're not going to go on for too long. The new season scheduled to begin middle to the end of February 2022. So that brings home why January is the ideal time to sign players from the J-League, because it's in the off-season. It's kind of like Celtic selling players in the summer. Maybe not your captain, your best player, your best defender all in one summer. But so without further ado, here are 5 players from the J-League who could make it at Celtic. Small caveat, I've led you on because one of the players isn't even playing in the J-League and another one isn't even Japanese. Now, we're not the only Celtic-related outlet to do one of these videos. I'm sure other websites, other YouTube channels, even podcasts have done a similar thing to this. It's been getting people talking. Virtually every single one of these lists that you will see will have this player on it. His name is Daisuke Myada, and he's the top scorer in the J-League at the moment with 17 goals and 3 assists in 29 games this season. Now, a small interesting point that I noticed when I was looking up the top scorers in the J-League is that somehow, miraculously, Kyogo is still third top, despite having not played a game in the competition in over 3 months. But that's the way it is. Myada has finally leapfrogged him into top position, and there's a couple of reasons why his name will feature on virtually every list you will see about players who could come to Celtic. Number one is that he is the top scorer, and top scorers always catch the eye of people looking at a league. He's a very good player. He's young. He's 24 in a week's time, which means he's 23 at the moment of me doing this. Perhaps the biggest reason for people suggesting that he would make a suitable signing for Celtic is that he's actually played under Ange before. Ange actually signed him for Yokohama F. Marinos, where Myada still plays at the moment. So in theory, if he was to sign for Celtic, it shouldn't take him too long to get up to speed with Ange's way of playing, Ange's way of managing, which is obviously a big positive. He is a diminutive, that means small, forward at 5'7", but he makes up for that lack in height in his hard work and his movement. He's actually not too dissimilar from Kyogo. Both players can play off the left, both can run in behind, both are at their best when they're running off the shoulder of the defender. I would say Kyogo is a more polished player, having just watched a bit of Myada on YouTube. He seems a bit rough around the edges, not quite as stylish a footballer, but that's not to say he's not a bad player at all. I mean, nobody on this planet is as good as Kyogo, so it's hardly a bad thing against Myada. He has actually played in Europe before. He had one season on loan in season 2019-2020 at Portuguese top flight side Maritimo. Now, it was a slightly disappointing time for Myada. He managed just 3 goals in that season. This current season that he's having in terms of goal return is certainly a bit of an outlier in his recent career. He hasn't really hit nearly as many goals in any season up until the current one. And it's not too dissimilar from Georgios Giacomakis' scoring record. Perhaps both players could be labelled one-season wonders. Perhaps they are now finally finding the goal-scoring boots that are going to stay with them for the rest of their career. He does seem to tick a lot of boxes, Myada. Probably ticks too many boxes for Celtic not to sign him. And the fact he can play off the left as well, a position that we certainly need reinforcements, is a big positive. So that's one end of the park. What about defence and centre-back? And why don't we take a look at Kyogo's former club, Vissel Kobe? If we look at their centre-backs, you'll find a Belgian guy by the name of Thomas Vermaelen. But next to him, there's a guy called Ryuichi Kiyochi, and that's my next recommendation for a potential Celtic signing. Now, he's 24, so still relatively young. He's been a virtual ever-present for Vissel Kobe this season, although his career didn't really take off until about 3 seasons ago. I don't know what he was doing when he was 17, 18, 19, maybe the same as me. But he turned into a proper footballer, unlike me, and he certainly looks to have all the raw attributes that Celtic would look for in a centre-back. He's strong. He's not slow. Wouldn't say he's quick either. He uses his body really well, and he has a habit of throwing his body on the line. I watched a YouTube compilation. I know, take that with a mountain of salt, but he seemed to head a lot of balls off the line and knee a lot of balls away and really, as I say, throw himself on the line. But really strong, has been an important player for Vissel Kobe. But if we were able to get someone like Kyogo relatively easily, him being the standout player in the league by all means, certainly on the Japanese side, then you wouldn't think signing someone like Kikuchi would be too difficult either. There's certainly a bit of Christopher Ayer in him, the way he bombs forward. Maybe not quite as confident on the ball as Ayer, but he has that kind of same surprising element as Ayer had, where you kind of felt he was always likely to give the ball away, Christopher Ayer. But usually he would actually do quite well and nick it away from the defender and keep advancing. Kikuchi has a similar part of his game there, although he's perhaps a little bit more awkward than Ayer, both attacking-wise and defensively. You can imagine this guy giving away some penalties. But in general, I'm going to give him a solid 7. Left back, likely to be a major issue for Celtic this January. Certainly supporters feel that that's perhaps the number one area that's in need of strengthening. Yes, we've got some options there. Do we have a number one left back who we can hang our hat on? I'd say the answer is no at the moment, quite frankly. Perhaps Rio Hatati could be that guy coming over from Japan. He currently plays for the runaway leaders in the J-League, Kawasaki Frontale. Now, they won the league last season. This season, they are running away with, again, I think they're about 11 or 12 points clear at the top. They've only lost one game in 32 so far this season, and Hatati is seen as one of their top attacking threats. Now, he can play left back, he can play left wing, and he can also play attacking midfield. Primarily over the last couple of months, he's been utilised at left back, although he has played the odd game sporadically in attacking midfield. And when you see him play, you can understand why he's able to play all these positions. Really takes care of the ball, really good final ball, real good burst of pace when he's in possession as well. He hasn't been capped by the Japan full national team yet, although he has made 31 appearances for the Japan under-23s, scoring 8 goals in that time. He was also part of the Japan team that finished 4th at their home Olympics in the summer, so he's highly rated in the country, even if he hasn't quite had his full international call-up yet. He always seems to pick out the perfect final ball, which is obviously a really positive thing. He's versatile, he can play in a number of areas, as I say. That's usually a good thing. Sometimes it can be to the detriment of the player's development, one to keep an eye on. I think Hatati is the kind of player you just sign and then you find a role for him in the team. I think he's that good. I would be very surprised if Ange is compiling a list of, say, 10 or 12 players currently playing in the J-League that can make it at Celtic if Hatati wasn't on it. Right, Sergi Samper is not Japanese. That's probably hardly a big surprise. He is Spanish. He would probably say he's Catalan as well. He came through the famed La Masia Academy in Barcelona. That's the one that has produced so many top talents over the last 2, 3, 4 decades. Xavi, Iniesta, Sergio Busquets. He's probably most like Sergio Busquets in the way he plays. He plays a bit deeper, a holding midfielder, obviously so confident in possession, kind of like a near Beaton, but a million times better. Does a lot of wee turns, Cruyff turns, 360s, likes a tackle as well, can break up the play. I think he's probably the one out of these 5 that Celtic need more than any other. He's the one that would come into the Celtic first team and make a massive improvement. I think we badly need a player like Samper who could play next to Callum McGregor. A player who would have the ability to create chances but also offer us something defensively as well. Something that I don't think either Turnbull or Rogic do well enough. Samper's actually played against Celtic. He played in 2016. You remember we played in that International Champions Cup, I think it was called, pre-season tournament, Leicester City, Inter Milan. We played Barcelona, I think over in Ireland, and Samper played in that match. He was actually so good in that match that there's a YouTube compilation of him just playing that match against Celtic, so you should definitely check that out if you want to look at the way this guy plays the game. Look out for an awful pass from Stuart Armstrong in there as well. Whether Samper would be tempted to give up the lifestyle he has in Japan to come back to Scotland to try it again in Europe, we don't really know what his situation is there. He's 26 years old. He obviously didn't make it at Barcelona, had a few loan spells away from them to other Spanish clubs, and was then tempted to go to Vissel Kobe by both Andres Iniesta and also Gerard Piqué, who I think has a relationship with the chairman of that club in Japan. David Villa, the former Barcelona, Valencia, Spain player, was also at Vissel Kobe at that stage. So there was a bit of a Spanish reunion going on there. So he's probably quite happy there at the moment, even if it is just Iniesta there. But he did play with Kyogo. Would a move to Celtic to link back up with Kyogo in Scotland be something that's appealing to him? We don't really know unless we're in his mindset, but he and Kyogo had a great relationship. Samper playing balls over the top, Kyogo's pace and movement doing the trick there. Wouldn't we love to see that for Celtic? Right, finally, the player that I hinted at that isn't actually playing in the J-League anymore, but he was as recently as 2019. His name is Yukinari Sagawara. That name may ring a bell, but we'll get to that in a wee second. He played in the J-League for Nagoya Grampus, hardly a well-known team, but he is quite well known in Japan because he's actually the second youngest debutant ever in the J-League. He made his debut at 17 years, 7 months and 27 days. He's second only to Junichi Inamoto, a player played for Arsenal, West Brom, had a pretty good career. Sagawara then moved to AZ Alkmaar. He had a loan spell there first before signing permanently. He actually played against Celtic earlier this season. Is that starting to ring bells now? Yes, he was a Japanese right back who played and tormented Celtic, especially in the second leg, but he was also really good at Celtic Park, I thought, as well. He has really good feet. He is good at overlapping. He likes to underlap as well. He is a regular at AZ Alkmaar now. He's only 21, surprisingly. I thought he looked much older the way he carried himself against Celtic. He's contracted until 2025, so this may be one that's a little bit out of our price range, but I'm not sure, to be honest. He has a fullback at the end of the day. The reason I bring him up more than anything else, more than the way he plays, is that he and Ange had a real big embrace after that first leg at Celtic Park. And I just wonder if he's someone who Ange would like to bring into Celtic. And I wonder if Sagawara would love to work under someone like Ange. There seemed to be a mutual respect there. Whether Celtic actually need another right back is a separate issue altogether. But Sagawara's pretty class. So that's the 5 J-League players that I, with help, of course, from Alan Gibson, am recommending that Celtic sign in January. Just 1 or 2 of them would do. But honestly, take a good look at those names and faces, because there's probably a fair chance that at least one of them signs for Celtic in January. A big thanks to Alan from J Soccer Magazine for helping me out with some of the names there, even if he couldn't join us. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Remember to like this video so more people can see it. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of my suggestions, and also if you've got any suggestions.